They never liked Bernie Sanders. They will never like Bernie Sanders. And you should realize by now that as much as Trump was considered an outsider for the Republicans, Bernie is still an outsider for the Democrats. And here's the thing. Trump had the power, he had the strategy, and admittedly, in my opinion, he's a bully. He pushed people around. He uses these names to say, Lion Ted. You've heard me talk about this before. Trump knew how to stand over people and say, you know what? I'm better than you, and here's why. And it worked. It worked for him. He was able to shut out something like, 17 contenders, 16 other contenders in the Republican primary. Trump stood out and he won. And as much as people on the left don't like that he's a crude and crass individual, there are people on the right, they love it. They love that Trump's, he says these things. And they're going to vote for him, plain and simple. Now here's Bernie. Bernie's not strong enough to beat the establishment. He wasn't a Democrat. Trump wasn't a Republican, right? They both came in as outsider populists, Bernie for the left, Trump for the right, but Bernie wasn't strong enough. I liked Bernie a lot. He's still one of my favorites, okay? I definitely like him more than Trump. But Bernie just doesn't have what it takes. I'll still vote for him. Don't get me wrong. He's not, he claims sometimes to be a democratic socialist. He's not. He's a social democrat. I think he's a little far left of me, but this is not the issue. The issue is, even right now, we have this opinion piece from NBC. Bernie Sanders fans can't be allowed to poison another Democratic primary with personal attacks. Bernie is not safe from the establishment, and this is why I don't think he can win. They like people like Beto. They like the establishment players. Sure, they might bring in some people who are a little fringy, but look at what's happening with Rashida Tlaib. I think her name is pronounced. She gets up and she says, we're going to impeach the mother effer, and now the Democrats are fuming. The establishment is angry, and they're not going to settle for this. So what are they going to do? Oh, the hit pieces are coming. I don't think they didn't want Bernie to run in 2016. They don't want him to run now, and that's how we can see this story. So this is from NBC News. I read the title, Bashing Beto O'Rourke and Every Other Democrat Doesn't Help Liberals' Cause in 2020. It only helps Trump. Yes, because heaven forbid you have integrity and criticize those who do wrong, period. Right? So they have a photo of Bernie. I know they captured it, whatever. So the first thing they're going to do is they're going to play a game of who said it? Who said it? This is funny, right? This is going to be funny. I'm hardly the only political observer who blames Hillary Clinton's general election defeat Donald Trump in part on personal attacks on Clinton first made by Bernie Sanders and his backers. Those attacks from her laid the groundwork for copycat attacks lobbed by Donald Trump and in the process helped hand the Supreme Court to the right wing for a generation. Don't believe me? Ask yourself who said what. 1. I know the guys at Goldman Sachs. They have total control over him, just like they have total control over Hillary Clinton. 2. I don't think you are qualified if you get $15 million from Wall Street through your super PAC. 3. Do I have a problem when a sitting Secretary of State and a foundation run by her husband collects many dollars from foreign governments which are dictatorships? Yeah, I do have a problem with that. Yeah, I do. 4. The Clintons have spent decades as insiders lining their own pockets and taking care of donors instead of the American people. It is now clear that the Clinton Foundation is the most corrupt enterprise in political history. Number 5, I think super predators was a terrible thing to say. And finally, 6, because super predators was a racist term and everybody knew it was a racist term. And first, number 1 was Trump, number 2 was Sanders, Trump, Sanders. So that means Sanders. Number 3, do I have a problem with a sitting Secretary of State and a foundation run by her husband collects many dollars from foreign governments which are dictatorships? Yeah, I do have a problem with it. Yeah, I do. Well, there you go. Bernie Sanders, you can pretty much tell which one's Trump and which one's Bernie. And Bernie spared no attack against Hillary Clinton, pointing out that her foundation was taking money from dictators while she was running for the president. Because Bernie, at the time, in my opinion, had some integrity, and that's why I liked him. And then he endorsed Hillary Clinton. And then I started to say, why would you do it, Bernie? And you know what? I'm not the only one. A lot of people felt like it was a punch in the gut from Bernie himself. He said before he wouldn't endorse her. He didn't agree with her. Hillary Clinton look, as the saying goes, Hillary Clinton is everything wrong with our government. Donald Trump is everything wrong with our culture. They were both bad. That's why I like Bernie. Trump, substantially better than Hillary Clinton. I think so. I still don't like the man because the culture issue. But now this should easily explain to you why so many people were willing to switch from Bernie to Trump and why Trump won in the first place. They always say it's voting for the lesser of two evils. Well, if it was Bernie versus Trump, in my opinion, I think Bernie would have won. I do. Because Bernie would have had the support of the Democrats because they're just like, you got to do it. He would have had the support of many people associated with the far left who probably don't vote, who would be like, dude, oh my God, we have to vote. And 12 to 18% of Bernie supporters went to Trump when Hillary won. The DNC decided it was better to lose to Trump than to let Bernie Sanders win. And they still believe that. So I'm sure there's a ton of people who used to be Bernie supporters watching these videos, and look what they're doing already to this man. Bernie, I think he showed some weakness. Those activists came up, pushed him around on stage. That was bad, okay? Bernie didn't have the strength to stand up to Hillary Clinton. That's bad too. I still like Bernie more than Hillary. Strength is really important for a leader. It absolutely is. And this is why some people were willing to switch to Trump. Some people just didn't vote because they didn't want either of them. And this paved the way for Donald Trump's victory. Not Bernie attacking Hillary. Absolutely not. The people who heard Bernie say this were never going to vote for her in the first place. Okay? Sure, I'll say this. Maybe there are some people who didn't know the Clinton Foundation was taking in this money, and Bernie pointed out it was bad for Hillary. But if you think that just because Bernie said it, that's the only reason Trump said it, you're crazy. If Bernie didn't exist, if he wasn't in the race, Trump would have used his exact same attacks that he's been using. It's not like Trump only learned about these things because of Bernie. Trump had he had companies working with him on data analysis to know what was important to talk about. Trump didn't win on accident, okay? It was a combination of Hillary being a terrible candidate. Actually, I'll say this. I think the blame stands squarely on the DNC. We know that they cheated in the debates. We know they sabotaged Bernie, and they would Hillary had to win. She had to win. So the story points out Sanders and Trump had criticized Hillary. But this is kind of ridiculous how they do this, because you can clearly tell who said what, okay? Look, you read the one where it's like, I don't think you're qualified if you get $15 million through a super PAC. That sounds like Bernie Sanders. The first one, I know the guys at Goldman Sachs. They have total control. That's how Trump talks. It's obvious. These aren't the only people who have criticized Hillary Clinton. They just took 6 quotes, rearranged them, and said, who said it? It's like, okay, yeah, well, Elizabeth Warren has been criticizing Hillary Clinton, and then she went and endorsed her too, so I don't like her either. But it's like they're trying to equate Sanders to Trump. They really do not want populism to win, okay? I don't think Bernie... You know what, I'll say this. I think Bernie would have won for those reasons I stated earlier, but I also think Bernie's massive disadvantage is he doesn't have the strength to compete against Trump. Trump might win just by calling him Crazy Bernie. Crazy Bernie, you know, he's got these crazy ideas. That might be enough. It could be. But I think Bernie had enough coalition among the left that it could have beaten Trump. They are still trying to burn themselves down. They say, and now through the 2018 Democratic presidential primary, and though the 2018 Democratic presidential primary has only just begun, those same long knives, mostly courtesy of supporters of Sanders' prospective candidacy, are out for outgoing Rep. Beto O'Rourke, charging that he is not a true progressive. Oh yeah, and then you have the actual far left saying Bernie's a fake ally. The reason for these preemptive attacks, which has the markings of a coordinated effort in a spate of news and opinion articles in a variety of publications, is obvious enough. After losing the Texas Senate race to incumbent Ted Cruz, O'Rourke nonetheless has shot to the top in Democratic primary polls since Election Day, overshadowing both Sanders and another left-wing favorite, Elizabeth Warren. In politics, you shoot up, not down. But I also want to point out, like, Beto lost. He lost. Why would he be a good contender for the Democratic primary? He seems, in my opinion, he's too much like John Kerry. He's just not, he's a B-tier candidate, you know? You can look at Trump, and you know exactly why he's going to win. And the people who didn't believe it they're just lying to themselves. Trump is a tall, imposing, loud, powerful guy, okay? You can not like him, but you can admit those things are true. And he uses that power to push people around and take. And there are people who like that. They think he's a strong leader and he's going to get what he wants, and when he makes a promise, he's strong enough to deliver on that promise. Look at what's going on with the shutdown. He said, we'll keep the government shut down for years. This man's not going to back down. You're crazy if you think so. Okay, by all means, hate the man, for sure. But you can recognize that you need someone strong enough if you want to go up against them. I don't think Bernie is strong enough. Elizabeth Warren is certainly not strong enough, and neither is Beto O'Rourke. I thought Avenatti was one of the best shots because he's not a politician. He's another guy like Trump who could talk back to him. But now what do they have? Well, seriously, what do they have? They're going after Bernie. I don't know why they're going after. They just don't like it. It's populism. Populism is bad, I guess. They say Bernie-crats seem determined to dust off the same destructive playbook this time around. Even though the attacks against O'Rourke are flimsy and misleading, O'Rourke unseated a conservative Democrat in a primary and never tacked right in an election deep red in Texas. What? He has run in favor of federal legislation legalizing marijuana and the impeachment of President Trump. Yes, that's why he's probably not going to win. The Democrats don't want that. It's ridiculous. It's just a fringe far-left position. So they end the story by saying, today, Democrats are rightly laser-focused on picking a winner in 2020, and the stakes are just too high to let bad faith actors in, whose real aim is to smear Democrats as no different than Republicans, stage inter-party schisms. If Sanders decides to run again this time, he should focus on policy and eschew character attacks on Democrats, and admonish his supporters to do the same. Otherwise, they put the core values we all share at risk yet again. No. No, David Brock. I disagree. I just think they don't like the idea of populism. They don't like the fact that Bernie and Trump were both in favor of getting rid of well, I don't know if Bernie wanted to get rid of NAFTA, but they both opposed it, and they both opposed the Trans-Pacific Partnership. And that's why you're going to get the working class people backing Bernie and Trump, and not Hillary Clinton. Anyway, the smears against Bernie have been ongoing. A bunch of videos about it. We're going to see more. Anyway, I got more videos coming up. Stick around. I'll see you in a few minutes.